Channel. We will be discussing here about the network here. It's young, they're online, they're talking to each other, and it is going in succession from one to another. There's a case in Florida of a Damian Allen. What we're going to do here, there's a video from Law and Crime on YouTube that goes into detail about this case, and it starts to link and connect some dots here.
The investigators that worked this case, there's no doubt in my mind they have stopped a mass shooting that was going to happen. This guy was ready to go, had all the equipment, had the propensity to do it. It's just a matter of what day was going to set him off to go do it.
A Florida sheriff is not holding back when talking about the arrest of this man. Pictures show that deputies found 18 guns, thousands of rounds of ammunition, police uniforms, and allegedly plans to carry out mass shootings at 7 locations. Allegedly, he gloated online about his loadout being set for, quote, war. Then on social media, he allegedly made it look like he was a member of law enforcement as he flaunted the guns allegedly in his possession. But then, on top of all of that, another shocking twist in this story. Deputies say he was allegedly in touch with a Wisconsin teenager for months before she died carrying out a school shooting last year. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
So this takes more twists and turns, although in reality it shouldn't be shocking because there are actually levels of communication and degrees of connection between all these events when you actually start digging through them, as we've covered for years.
The sheriff in Palm Beach County, Florida, says his deputies have stopped a mass shooting before it happened because they were able to arrest a man they believe had stalked several locations and had the weapons to do it. Damian Allen is now under arrest. Deputies say they first learned of the 22-year-old through a tip that came into the FBI. Deputies raided his home in Loxahatchee, Florida, and they say they found 18 guns and 12,000 rounds of ammunition.
You heard that right. 18 guns and 12,000 rounds of ammunition. 12,000. Of course, he was living with other folks, I believe. Here, his parents, I think. Yeah, I think he was living with his parents. And 12,000 rounds of ammunition, people. That is simply unreal. There is absolutely no chance whatsoever that you could get that into a house without everyone else seeing it and being aware of it. 18 guns and 12,000 rounds of ammunition. Yeah, once again, folks know what's going on, and they're just hoping that Scooter the Shooter backs off of it before he gets too far down the road.
Is one of the pictures the sheriff showed at a news conference. Now, on top of the weapons, deputies say Allen allegedly had multiple Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office uniforms, a badge, a PBSO laptop, even the belt and holster that...
Damn! You heard that right. On top of having basically Rambo's closet, he had police uniforms, police laptop. And the police are like, we don't know how that happened. We still looking into it. Now, how in the world he get that? So yeah, people, we're not surprised from the land of Zimmerman. From the land of Zimmerman, there's a reason why Grand Theft Auto is making this next installment in Florida. Yeah, because this is art imitating life. The land of Zimmerman? Yeah, absolutely.
Through a tip that came into the FBI. Deputies raided his home in Loxahatchee, Florida, and they say they found 18 guns and 12,000 rounds of ammunition. This is one of the pictures the sheriff showed at a news conference. On top of the weapons, deputies say Allen allegedly had multiple Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office uniforms, a badge, a PBSO laptop, even the belt and holster that deputies use. They say it's unclear how Allen got his hands on all of that. We found Allen's Instagram page, and he has allegedly posted multiple videos of him dressed up as a deputy. And deputies say those videos are far more than just some 22-year-old playing dress up and pretend police.
Some information we have on this is that there were online communications with other individuals who discussed carrying out mass violence, not just here in Florida and Palm Beach County, but in the nation.
Did you hear that? Now, this is not last year. They're saying that he's been in touch with other individuals, plural. 22 years old, been in touch with other individuals, plural, about carrying out mass shootings.
And just some 22-year-old playing dress up and pretend police.
Some information we have on this is that there were online communications with other individuals who discussed carrying out mass violence, not just here in Florida and Palm Beach County, but in the nation. Allen expressed support of radically and ethically motivated violent extremism and threats of mass violence, to include identifying several places, I believe it was 7, that he would like to strike. This included a police department, and in other conversations, people who was online were to discuss churches. The use of guerrilla warfare and tactics and ambushing to carry out the mass violence attacks.
We went through court records for Allen.
So, of course, the sheriffs there, they try to make this about, he was talking about going after police. He was talking about going after police, but of course, as always, they say that in order to deflect and divert your attention from the usual routine motif that always shows up. White supremacy is always wrapped up in these mass shooters. White supremacy is always the key ingredient that unites them all and identifies them all. So you notice how they're really easing and dancing around that. Please understand, it's going to get there, but they're slow walking it, they're dancing around it, but they don't want to go straight to the usual suspect and usual cause, white supremacy.
And in the probable cause affidavit, we see Allen talking on TikTok about his alleged extremist views and violent attacks. In May of last year, deputies say Allen was allegedly talking to a user on TikTok who they say wanted to do a, quote, black church that was near me, but you know.
So that is Natalie Rupp now. She carried out a mass shooting in Wisconsin. What? Last December. By the way, but that's 15-year-old Natalie Rupp now. So I think he was 21 at the time. And him and her last year were in communication with each other, had a relationship, a romantic one. So for those of you who remember that mass shooting, this is her saying, I wanted to do a black church. So they were trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And folks, there's a reason why the police and the authorities and the media conceal these things. They don't let their manifestos out, and I'm going to go into hers tonight. There's a reason that they don't let these things out. There's a reason that they hide them and conceal them and won't show you all the evidence and all the information. Because when you see this stuff right here, it's like, I'll be damned. There's a running theme through all of these. And it's always the same thing. So there's a reason that they will not ever release all the evidence, because then you start to see it's like, yep, here we go again.
Allen later replies, quote, I got a AR-500 steel plates, at level 4 helmet, IFAK kits. My loadout is set up for war. Deputies say that user who Allen was communicating with was Natalie Rupno. That name might sound familiar to you. She was a 15-year-old girl who killed a teacher and student at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin in December.
Wisconsin, the land of Rittenhouse. Folks, the land of Zimmerman, the land of Rittenhouse. Yeah, this is all just random, right? Every time you turn around, you see this kind of stuff in the usual hot spots here. There's no connection? None? Okay.
of last year, she also injured 6 other people. Court records show that after Rupno took her life, police in Wisconsin got her phone from her pocket, then traced the conversation that she was having with Allen in Florida. Here's another video, allegedly of Allen from his Instagram, and this time you can see he's in military fatigues and carrying what looks like an AR-style rifle. Deputies also say that Allen and Rupno allegedly established a conspiracy to commit mass shootings. In June, Allen writes, quote, "We go down together," to which Rupno replies, "Correct," and says, "I love you."
Okay, well, folks, here's a question for you now. If she carried out this mass shooting back in December of 2024, and if they got a hold of her phone because she killed 2 people, shot a bunch of others, and then killed herself. Well, that was December of last year. It's now May of 2025. So 6 months later, what happened? If you got her phone in December of 2024 and you checked it all thoroughly and saw who she was communicating with in December of 2024, why is it that you didn't do anything until, quote, you got a tip in 2025? If you went through her information in her phone, and by the way, her Discord and other Discord, TikTok, and other media, she was talking to him on more than just one. Why didn't she go ahead and talk to him on all of those? Folks, if she killed herself and killed these folk back in December of last year, 6 months later? Oh, we saw who it was. We saw she was talking to him. Oh, we saw the messages. Okay. So what you gonna do? I mean, we don't see the violation of the law right there. We're holding out to them. We ain't really worried about it right now. And then later, oh, somebody had to tip them off. Are you sure? Because it's not like they didn't already have the information. So are you sure?
To which Allen replies, "I love you more."
By the way, he was 21. She was 15. He was 21. She was 15. So make of that what you will.
Allen writes, quote, "We go down together," to which Rupno replies, "Correct," and says, "I love you." To which Allen replies, "I love you more." Another key exchange was this one from May of last year when both Rupno and Allen were talking about how many guns they allegedly had. Allen talks about how many magazines he has, including 10 that can hold 30 rounds each, and how he also allegedly has smoke grenades. Rupno replies she has 2 of her father's handguns. 2 handguns is what police in Wisconsin say that teen used when she attacked her school. The conversation then continues with Allen stating, quote, "Once you get to a point, there's no going back," and quote, "I got 7 places I would strike. The police department also. Guerrilla warfare tactics, ambushing, and blitz." Deputies in South Florida say Allen spoke with the Wisconsin school shooter from May to September of last year. Their conversations ended less than 2 months before Rupno attacked her school. As far as what could be the motivation for Allen allegedly to plan a mass shooting and even target, from what we're seeing in those conversations, a police station when, according to social media, he loved to dress up as a PBSO deputy, we noticed on this image that was provided by the Palm Beach County Sheriff of all the weapons they say they found at Allen's house, you can see that there is a swastika as well as what looks like a Russian flag.
Well, yeah, for those of you who, for my suspected white supremacist members of the audience who are hoping, oh please, don't let them find it, oh please, let Jason Black be wrong, oh please, nope, there it is. Oh, by the way, that's not all. This is not it. But by the way, in case you were hoping against hope that the usual wasn't gonna be there, yeah, the usual is right there. There it is. As usual. So all this talk about police departments and things, you gotta put that in its proper context. It's always about the same people doing the same thing for the same reason. Everything else is their attempt to distract and deflect from the obvious and the overwhelming. That's all. It's just the usual.
This image that was provided by the Palm Beach County Sheriff of all the weapons they say they found at Allen's house, you can see that there is a swastika as well as what looks like a Russian.
By the way, do you see how they got it all off over here by itself? Why didn't they put this up front? Why'd they bury this off in the middle of everything? Why didn't you put this up front so everybody can see this stuff? Why are you not doing that? This is all really simple here. Why are we not putting this stuff, why are we not putting it off by itself so everyone can see that? Why are you just burying it under the rest of this stuff on here, Sheriff's Department?
Flag on the sleeve of a military shirt. In court documents, it does appear that Rupno harbored racist and anti-Semitic views. And one question it seems that PBSO deputies are trying to answer right now is, how did Allen get his hands on so much gear that PBSO deputies use? The uniforms, the belts, the holsters. It seems from looking at his social media, he was obsessed with law enforcement. This is even a picture he took of two PBSO vehicles outside of a Walmart. And here's a picture of that belt and holster in his closet that he posted on Instagram too.
We've been saying for decades that the Ku Klux Klan took off the white robes and put on the black robes and the police uniform. We've been saying that now for decades. It is an open secret. Nobody over here on our side is surprised. We've been yelling it now ever since. We have said they've never gone away. And there he is sitting. I mean, folks, this is how you can sit in a society with smoking guns all around you like a barbecue pit. And they will swear up and down, "Ooh, we don't see no connection." You call that evidence? He's got every police paraphernalia you can imagine, and they're saying, well, you call that evidence? What is that? You folks is reaching. That's what they're going to tell us. You folks are reaching. By the way, for those of you who are asking, no, they didn't arrest her father. Nope. No, she wrote down where she got the guns from. The police in Wisconsin, no. Nope. Nobody has done anything about her father. Nope. The Crumley case and all that. Yeah, Ethan Crumley. Yeah, we've all seen that. And gotta let it slide, you know. Hey, all the Trump voters, we are so back. Actually, this kind of thing never left, but yeah, you're back, all right. Yeah, that's back.
This is what the sheriff's office had to say.
He posted several videos of him wearing a full PBSO uniform, which is very similar to what myself and the sheriff are wearing today. It included a badge, a name tag with his name on it, and all the equipment that is issued to PBSO officers. There's a Class B uniform, which is a less dressier one, the short sleeve version, but he had 2 or 3 of those uniforms, which at that time were still looked at how those were obtained. He had a gun belt, a taser, a radio, and other police equipment, including a fake body cam video to make it more realistic. He showed himself operating a vehicle that resembled a law enforcement car. I believe it was a Crown Vic, if I'm not mistaken. And he added a police package, a laptop stand, and a police computer in there. And it was operational, and he would take videos of him standing in it and sitting in it.
Now, did you all notice what he said? This is not me talking. This is the sheriff sitting there talking, and he said a police laptop. Now, he said the guy had a Crown Victoria, and then he said he added the police package to it. I'm assuming that they mean the side lights and the grill bumper. I'm assuming that's what they mean when they say that. However, when he didn't just say that he had a laptop. He said he had a police laptop. Now, this is not me making that distinction, and that's not me stretching. You just heard him say he didn't just, if it was just a regular laptop, why didn't he just say a laptop meant to impersonate or make you think it was police? He says a police laptop. So this goes well beyond just, oh, I found a uniform on eBay somewhere. This goes beyond that.
Other police equipment, including a fake body cam video to make it more realistic. He showed himself operating a vehicle that resembled a law enforcement car. I believe it was a Crown Vic, if I'm not mistaken. And he added a police package, a laptop stand, and a police computer in there. And it was operational, and he would take videos of him standing in it and sitting in it.
There's also the question of how this 22-year-old was able to afford so much gear, so many weapons. Deputies say they're still looking into that, and it's unclear if he legally owned all the weapons they say was in his possession.
Not that would even matter. In the age of Rittenhouse, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how he acquired them. Remember? Also, by the way, are y'all noticing a pattern here? They don't know nothing. All these law enforcement agencies, they confirm, oh yeah, he was in touch with another mass shooter since a year ago. A year ago, he was talking to a mass shooter in Wisconsin. She did her shooting in December. 6 months later, they still don't know anything. They're still sitting here saying they don't know nothing. We don't know how he got it. We don't know where he got this stuff. We don't know how he got it. We don't know how he got the ammunition. We don't know where he achieved it from. We don't know how he got the weapons. Yeah, but what I don't know is why you haven't done anything to him since December. If you knew he was talking to her, what I want to know is, because I don't know why you still let him walk around since December. That's what I don't have an answer to. Because let me tell you right now, if it was some black folk, it would have been a RICO indictment, gang injunction, all in. They would have been come and grabbed everybody. If this was a group of black folk, they would have just told black identity extremists and then go round everybody up. If it had been black folk, Ron DeSantis and them would be like black identity extremists and go round everyone up. Oh, status correction, Moorish people, that's what they would have done. We would not be walking around a year later and somebody got to send a tip, which means that, oh, you did too much. Now there's a paper trail that shows somebody informed us he was still out there. The police already knew, people. This is the really killing part. I've given you the evidence. They already knew. They've known since at least December. They didn't need somebody to call them and drop a tip. They didn't need somebody to call Crime Stoppers. They didn't need somebody to hit the tip line. They're admitting, oh yeah, we know he was talking to a mass shooter before, and they were both talking about the targets they wanted to hit. They were both talking about the guns that they have, talking about their capacity to do it. Well, they did that back in December. Okay, but how the hell is it 6 months later and he's still walking around? Riddle me that. Yeah, they don't know nothing.
Deputies say he was living with his family. The FBI is also involved in this investigation, and deputies say there could be federal charges. Currently, Allen is facing charges of written or electronic threat of a mass shooting or terrorist act, using a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony, and illegally impersonating a police officer. He's currently being held in the Palm Beach County Jail. The longtime sheriff in Palm Beach.
Folks, remember, you're supposed to have your red flag laws. Once again, the police have confessed that they knew he was talking to another mass shooter, had gone over all the information and their capacity, had already done that. Months ago, he ain't red flagged nowhere. No one's come to check on him. No 5150 anything. He's just walking the streets. And as far as if he broke any federal laws, that doesn't matter. Remember, we're in the land of Rittenhouse and the land of Zimmerman. If you're white, your weapons don't have to be legal. Bunch of them were angry as hell during my program about Anthony Carmelo down there in Texas. When I said, no, Rittenhouse had illegal guns. They were not illegal. Yes, they were. Straw man gun purchase. They let him and the fellow who bought them illegally for him go. Remember, they charged them. This isn't me talking. Remember, they charged them with that. They charged Rittenhouse. They charged his buddy. Judge Schrader said, yeah, forget that. Once they got him off on murder, forget the guns too. So we have already confirmed now, and by the way, Joe Biden's White House let it slide. So we have now confirmed at both the state and the federal level, straw man gun purchases are no longer illegal. Getting somebody else to make an illegal gun, it doesn't matter how you acquired your guns. That doesn't matter anymore. Not anymore, it doesn't. Oh yeah, by the way, one more thing. It wouldn't matter if you got a felony. What? Ain't that right, Hunter Biden? Damn. Matter of fact, it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter if you're breaking the law by purchasing the gun. You got a felony, drug conviction, anything that you're lying about, you can lie on the forms, remember? Yeah, Bristol Palin to Kyle Rittenhouse to Hunter Biden. This is white privilege. When folks ask what white privilege is, that's what we mean. And a black man in this country got enough money to purchase that type of preferential treatment. You don't have enough money to buy that type of privilege. This is just the average, everyday, common white person, and the system has to confess and admit, oh, well, yeah, those rules aren't for you. Those are the rules for the niggers. That's for them. Case after case, and no, that's not for you, that's for them. So just understand that this is not a coincidence. This is not just some really weird pattern you see. This is white supremacy. This is it. You cannot do this. If you attempt it, they would have stopped you from the beginning. And they're letting you know that sometimes you got to break a bunch of heads to make a white supremacist omelet. Let them keep walking the streets. And you better not say nothing to them about it.
A police officer. He's currently being held in the Palm Beach County Jail. The longtime sheriff in Palm Beach County did not hold back when talking about this case.
This is disturbing that somebody can get these type of items off the internet.
No, sir. What's disturbing is that he was planning the mass shooting. He was talking to a mass shooter last year. Both of them were putting their heads together about who they were going to kill and where. One of them set the damn thing off, and you all are still sitting there thumbing yourselves, talking about, oh, well, ho-hum. That's what's disturbing, sir. What's disturbing is that he was an accomplice to a mass shooting already. You all already knew who he was, and you did nothing. So don't pretend to be outraged now. You didn't do anything. All these months, you didn't do nothing. That's the part that's disturbing.
It baffles me, to be honest with you. But this is a dangerous, dangerous individual. Can you imagine the damage he would have done with 12,000 rounds of ammunition and fully automatic ARs?
I imagine quite a bit more than his girlfriend did 6 months ago when you all saw in Wisconsin and you didn't follow up on it. So yes, I can imagine what he could do with 12,000 rounds of ammunition. We saw what his girlfriend did. And you saw it too, and you said, oh well, no cause for arrest or action here. So yes, we can perfectly imagine what he would have done. Clearly, you didn't think that was a problem. And by the way, he already committed the crime last year. You can already get him for terroristic threats and terroristic conspiracy. You can already get him for that. We've proven that after Timothy McVeigh. They grabbed every damn body he talked to. Michael Fortier got arrested for knowing about it and not saying anything. Terry Nichols was the real accomplice. Michael Fortier, the feds came and got him. It's like, man, get your ass in this paddy wagon, because you and dude were talking that whole time and you didn't say nothing. Here, hold this life sentence. And then he had to start squawking. So we've already proven it decades ago, 1995, 96, in Oklahoma City. We already proved, if you know and didn't say nothing, oh, that's a crime. That's all we need. You don't have to even be involved in the planning of it. well, to anybody who tries to say that Michael Fortier started and then he backed out. Okay, that don't matter. In other words, all he did was talk. But then ultimately he backed out. Okay, well, this fellow was talking his ass off, and that was not cause to take any action. We got black folk getting together talking, started COINTELPRO. They started that from black folk just getting together talking. These folk doing a hell of a whole lot more than talking. And by the way, they've already conceded at the beginning of the video, as I showed you, that these weren't the only ones. There are others out there. Do you hear any arrests, people? Have you seen anything in the news about any arrests connected to this? Nope. Not a thing.
Unquestionably, this is one of the best arrests that I've seen in a long time that has prevented people from dying, because I guarantee you he was going to do that.
A former classmate of Allen spoke to a local TV station in West Palm Beach, WPTV, who said that Allen was a member of her high school's JROTC and would often talk about guns. And she said, quote, "I soon realized he wasn't normal. He would always talk about guns, and he was in JROTC, and he would just constantly talk about those things. And when I would try to sway the conversation to any other topic, that wouldn't work." Joining us now to talk more.
If you were a black teenager, Megyn Kelly, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Mark Dice, the white supremacist five stooges, they would be all over it talking about the school should have done something to you then. If you're coming to school and constantly talking about guns, 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 these folk would have demanded that the school do something about you then. They would have said, why didn't you do something about him then? And everybody here is acting like they don't know nothing. And I have to sit here and point out to you all the pertinent things. He was talking to her since May of last year. Talking to the little girl he was talking to, both of them egging each other on to do a mass shooting, stockpiling weapons to be damned, saying specific plans in specific places. She sets it off in December of 2024. He was talking to her the whole damn time, and 6 months later, no one lifted a finger to get at the other person that she had been talking to until, quote, somebody sends in a tip. So her cell phone talking to him with all those plans, that wasn't tip enough, people. Please understand that. What they're saying is that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. That's what they're saying.
About this case is former Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg, who's also now managing partner of Dave Ehrenberg Law. Thanks for taking the time to join us from South Florida. You're no longer the head of the office that'll be prosecuting this case, but this is out of Palm Beach County. What stands out to you when what we know at this point about this suspect, Damian Allen?
First, how did he get a hold of a PBSO uniform, a Palm Beach County Sheriff's?
Does he really have to ask that, people? Gosh golly gee willikers, how did you get a hold of a Palm Beach Sheriff's Office uniform and Palm Beach Sheriff's Office laptop and Palm Beach Sheriff's Office decals and, police packages? How do you get all that? The same way they all do. Folks, please understand, every time you see these white supremacist things happen and whatnot, we are the only folk on the outside. We've been talking for decades about the fact that every facet of American society has been completely infiltrated by white supremacist operatives. And what they do is they grab somebody. It's like alerting a sleeper cell. We've been watching it happen over and over again. That's why these fellas are so bucked up, because they've actually talked to real police officers, real sheriffs, real soldiers, and they get their little crash dummy and tell him, hey, you one of us. You're one of the elite, which is why with this Damian Allen, yeah, he had a bunch of this stuff. Oh, yes, and please don't forget, couldn't help but notice the "Don't Tread on Me" flag behind him. Damn! So a clear through line from Timothy McVeigh to here. I am telling you all tonight, this is white supremacist code. This is white supremacist code speak. They are sending a message to each other with all of this similar language and all of this similar iconography and all of this similar symbolism. They're sending the message to each other. This is getting on code. So they find the little crash dummy. They all sit up here and puff him up and egg him on and tell him, you one of us. And the revolution about to get started. And then they sneak him some gear. And then it's like, okay, off you go. But they know where he got it from. They're just playing dumb because they don't want to blow the whole damn thing wide open, because then you're going to have a whole lot more arrests of folks sitting right there at the police department and sheriff's department and in the governor's office, you figure. You figure all the way up to there. I would imagine with an adequate investigation, it'll run all the way up to there. So on American soil, please understand that this is white supremacist radicalization being carried out by law enforcement officials, law enforcement officers, and then when you question them, they play dumb. That's what you're witnessing. That's what you're seeing. If there's no way in the world that he is this geeky about this, and he hasn't talked to law enforcement people low-key behind the scenes who let him know, hey, you're one of us. And they were like, okay, one of them set off in Wisconsin. Let's go ahead and get this next one going. 12,000 rounds of ammunition. You know what that's for. That's to kill as many Negroes as you can. That's to kill as many black people as you can. That's what that's for. And I submit to you all that the reason for doing that is because summer's coming up. Summertime in Florida. Figure he gonna find a beach somewhere. You figure it's summertime and coming up summertime in Florida. You figure he gonna find a beach somewhere. He rolls up looking like the police, talking about he's there to protect folk like Kyle Rittenhouse, only this time things go different. Only this time things go different. And everybody's going to play dumb right up until then, because that's the way the game is played. Everybody just plays stupid. You see everything right in front of you. Oh, just play. Gee, gosh, Willikers. How in the world did you do that? Oh, man.
What stands out to you when what we know at this point about this suspect, Damian Allen?
First, how did he get a hold of a PBSO uniform, a Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office deputy's uniform? That's not supposed to be available to the public. How did he get inside a Crown Victoria that resembled a car that was used by PBSO? Was there someone in his family or friends who helped him get inside a car to get an old uniform to access something that looked like one of the official sheriff computers that they use, the laptops? And then he had an arsenal of weapons. It's amazing he was able to compile all these weapons for so long without anyone doing anything about it, without catching anyone's eye. And so there are a lot of questions. And fortunately, he kept pushing it, becoming more brazen in his public communications via social media.
Yeah, because talking to a mass shooter in Wisconsin, that wasn't brazen enough, people. Him being the romantic interest and daily pen pal of a mass shooter in Wisconsin, that wasn't a tip-off enough. That wasn't brazen enough, people. What they're telling you is that they saw all this for a year, and that wasn't brazen. We don't really see a cause of action. That wasn't enough. They're asking about all this other stuff as if his messaging her and the outrageously alarming things they were saying, that wasn't enough. Don't you understand? Well, you call that evidence? We need to see more.
That someone who saw something finally said something.
On the part about the uniform, because if you go to an Army surplus store, Army Navy surplus store, you can find a lot of different, if you want to buy fatigues from someone who was in the Army, that's available to you. But when it comes to the uniform of a member of law enforcement, that is not something that someone should be able to buy unless you're a deputy in this case, it'd be PBSO.
Yeah, and it shows you this guy's mindset. He apparently wants to be like a deputy. He's wearing the uniform. He's inside what looks like a cop car. He's using what looks like a cop laptop, and yet he hates police. He hates law enforcement. He wants to kill as many as he can. This was a guy who apparently wanted a mass shooting, and so there are a lot of...
So notice they're not saying anything about the swastika. Oh, he hates police. Nothing about the swastika. Nothing about that. Yeah, we're just going to sweep that under the rug. Former state's attorney here. Oh, don't worry about that swastika thing. Really, it's about the police. So you see where he's trying to go with this? Do you all see where they're trying to steer the conversation? We need to protect police more. We need to do more for the police. We don't need to do anything for the black folk that these people are targeting. No, we need to worry about the police. We got to do more to help them. We have to increase funds for them. Okay, and about the black folk that's targeting, don't worry about that. You have very interesting how that's going there. So in case you can't see exactly why he's trying to argue it this way, he's trying to steer this towards we need to do more to protect the police.
Answered questions. Obviously, there are mental health issues, but that won't save him here. He is someone who's not going to be able to take advantage of an insanity defense because it looked like he was cold and calculated and premeditated.
People, he can argue insanity. I don't know why this guy's even trying this. Yes, he can. There's absolutely no reason he cannot do so. Now, if you're black, forget about it. You can be black and eating your own toes off, and they'll say you're perfectly sane. But in his case, no. He can argue insanity, sitting in court reading Freud and the Wall Street Journal, and he'll be able to argue insanity. So let's stop the cap.
He knew what he was doing, and he was trying to conceal it until he got caught.
And now that he's caught, he's facing some pretty serious charges. He did not carry out a mass shooting. The deputies and the FBI were able to step in potentially before that would have happened. But what type of punishment could he face, knowing that they have these messages that he had, not to mention those messages, many of them were with someone who did carry out a shooting in Wisconsin.
Right. Yes, he's a young man. He's got no prior record, but because of the arsenal he compiled and his written threats to kill, the threats against the law enforcement community, the apparent attempt to try to commit a mass shooting, he's facing decades in prison. Thankfully, he didn't act upon it. And because of that, he could get out of prison one day. That it looks like he'll get if he is found guilty or if he cuts a plea deal, he'll get decades in prison. But this is a guy who will likely be free one day, and hopefully he'll learn from his mistakes. He clearly needs some major psychological help.
So he had 18 guns, according to the sheriff, 300 pounds of ammunition, which is about 12,000 rounds. I mean, that's a lot of firepower to have in your home, which they said he lived with his family. So it's not like he owned the house. He had all of this stuff inside the home. But Florida is not a state where it's illegal to have.
People, if he was black, simply the possession of that many guns and that much firepower, that would be enough to put him away for 20, 30 years. The very fact that he was sitting with that many guns and that many rounds of ammunition, that would have been sufficient to charge him with terrorism, and they would be throwing him away for 20, 30 years based simply on the possession of that many guns and that much ammunition. They would have said, can't you obviously see terrorist cell? And that would have been it right there. Just him possessing it, that would have been all they needed. That would have been it. They'd be done. All you got to do is have it. Simply him possessing it, that would have been enough. They would have said this is an excessive amount of firearms. Certainly there's nothing good intended by this. Why does somebody need so many guns? Why do you need so many guns? And that's all it would have needed to be. Remember, with black teenagers, if you take a picture on social media with a toy gun, that's what they straight go for right then. They go straight for that. Okay.
Guns. How does the law view that in a case like this, where you do have a state where it is your right to go to a gun store, and if you're 18 years old, you can go buy an AR-15?
Right. Now, it depends also. There are some federal firearms offenses he could have been committing. It's hard to know at this point, but correct. Florida is a very loose state when it comes to the ownership of firearms. There are some small restrictions, like you can't show them in public. You have to have...
Not when you're black, people. When you're black, there's hella restrictions when you're black. So, no, it's not a loose state for gun laws when you're black. No.
Concealed carry. So I don't know if he violated that, but really the meat of the charges here are his threats to kill, his attempt to apparently create a mass shooting. That's going to be the main charge against him. And the compilation of all those firearms, a collection of all those weapons, will be used against him to show that this was not just idle talk. This was not a guy who was messing around. This was a guy who was planning to carry out his threats. So
you hear what the former state's attorney here just said, the fact that he owned that many guns and firearms. Yeah, they can argue that alone. So it matters where you get your information. It matters where you get your sources. I'm not making this up as I go along. If you have that many guns, that much ammunition, they can charge you just based on that alone. That's all they need. Right there. So he has confirmed and corroborated what I previously stated.
That's why the collection of these weapons is important for prosecutors. It's going to be used to show his intent, his mens rea, and the fact that he was going to commit this crime for real. This wasn't just idle talk or a guy trying to gaslight a woman he met on the internet.
Yeah, I want to get to that woman that he was talking to in just a moment. One more thing on this arsenal, because he's 20.
Woman. Folks, did they just give the 15-year-old white girl the black folk treatment? What? He said the woman he was talking to. You mean the 15-year-old? You mean that? That, quote, woman? I mean, are we using the Nordic Viking definition of woman now? Is that where are we using the Nordic Viking Leif Erikson definition of the Vandals definition of woman now? Because are we referring to the same 15-year-old? Or are we talking about a different person? Was there another female? Because so far the only one I'm aware of is the 15-year-old, which, by the way, we'll be getting to her shortly.
2 years old, and you look at those guns and the cost of what all of that must have been. On top of that, he had the gear, the helmet, some body-worn cameras. He had magazines that...
Now, I'm going to say this here real quick. For those of you who know the video game Metal Gear Solid, yeah, the way he was wearing that hat, that cowboy hat earlier, he was looking like Skullface, real slender, real skinny with the hat and stuff. He was looking like Skullface with the cowboy hat on and the shades. And then he's wearing this face mask with the teeth. So for those of you who don't know, that is a video game called Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid was at Phantom Pain. Yeah, is the Phantom Pain game of Metal Gear Solid. And there was a Skullface. I couldn't help but notice. I was like, yeah, when he was wearing that cowboy hat and the shades, I was like, he's real skinny looking. I'm like, he kind of resembles Skullface. Then when I see him wearing this, I'm like, oh, that's not accidental. That ain't accidental. Yeah, I'm letting y'all know. You can go do your own research into that game and Skullface. You can go to YouTube. There's 1,000 videos about it. You'll be flooded with them. But I was like, yeah, First person shooter anyone? First person shooter anyone? So, couldn't help but notice. Yeah, he's all the way geeked up. He's living an internet online life. He lives a cyber life. So he's a prime candidate for some very calculating individuals to put a battery in his back and put a gun in his hand and load him down with ammunition and send him off somewhere to strike a blow for the race and the revolution.
Helmet, some body-worn cameras. He had magazines that he claimed could hold 30 rounds. What questions would you have for the family, and what type of trouble could the family be in if he was getting help putting this arsenal together, or they knew that he had it in the home?
None. They're not going to do a damn thing. None. They're not going to set that precedent. Now, some black folk, they'll try to set that precedent with them, but no, they're not. In Florida, no, they're not going to do that here. No.
Oh, yeah, the family could be in some trouble if they knowingly assisted him. But, you know, I've seen these types of cases before where the family is just clueless. I mean, they just have their head in the sand. They will not win the parenting award.
What? Nigga, please.
Yeah, you heard him. I mean, but you know, I know plenty of families now. Their heads are just in the sand. People, he brought in 18 guns and 12,000 rounds of ammunition. His room in there, you saw what his room looked like. You could barely fit the bed in there anymore. There was so much armament. If his parents ever looked in his room for a split second, it looked like Neo in the Matrix. I need guns, lots of guns. It looked like that. It looked like he was in the construct of the Matrix loading up to go save Morpheus. So no, there's no way in the hell that anybody missed that. There's no way in hell you're missing that. You're not thinking that he's using it for target practice or something, because all you see is the stockpile is getting bigger. He's not going out and buying, in his case, think about this, folks. People, you couldn't use 1,000 rounds of ammunition. For those of us who have those kind of weapons, we don't have 1,000 rounds of ammunition. If you have 1,000, you gonna go use 300 or 500. But even if you're just gonna go to the gun range or go shooting or something like that, you're not gonna just sit there with 5,000 rounds of ammunition just sitting. That's a waste of money. Buying 1,000 rounds only makes sense if you're shooting 500 rounds on a regular basis. That makes sense. You don't go buy 1,000 rounds and then go buy another 1,000 and then go buy another 1,000 and tell people, oh, I don't have enough bullets yet. Man, where the hell you going, Afghanistan? So folks, no, when he got to 1,000 rounds, somebody said, what in the hell's going on here? What are we doing? That was enough.
By any means, because they just think they're helping their 22-year-old son by staying out of his life and just not asking questions or believing his easy, ridiculous answers as to why he's stockpiling an army's worth of weapons. So the parents have a lot of answers to give on their own. And if they knowingly tried to assist him in possibly committing this act, which he never accomplished, thankfully, then they could be charged as an accomplice. But right now it's too early to know.
I don't see how they would. The police let him run around for the last year. They're going to go get the parents? How the hell are they going to do that? They let him run wild for the last year. Getting ready for the damn gun down. They might go to the parents too. I can't see it.
Whether or not they'll be witnesses or whether or not they'll be charged themselves.
Reading the story, it was just shocking because I remember that shooting that happened in Madison, Wisconsin last year in December. And then to see this happening, and then he was communicating with the shooter in that case. She was just 15 years old. Have you ever seen something like that? I mean, obviously with the internet, people can communicate in ways they never have before, but to see the conversations that they were having, that they both shared this weird, twisted love of guns, but more specifically of potentially doing a mass shooting.
Now, this is the part that I wanted to get to. This is the reason I'm holding tonight's program. And I know it took us 54 minutes to get here, but this right here is the point I wanted to bring you all to. Now, please remember, he's talking to a currently practicing attorney, former state's attorney for Palm Beach County in the state of Florida. He's talking to a former state's attorney and a current active attorney. And he just said, by the way, about their online activity and what they're doing online and how they were communicating with each other online. What can you tell us about that? And listen to what he's about to say.
Yeah, I know I called her a woman earlier. She was a teenager, this mentally ill individual who committed such an atrocity. And you have to believe that she got some encouragement from him, and that helped convince her to do it. If he had just been normal and just told her to, hey, stand down, this is not right, don't do this, perhaps lives could have been saved up in Wisconsin. But that's not what happened here. They seem to feed on each other's derangement, feed on each other's hate. And thankfully, when it came to his attempt to commit an atrocity, that he was stopped in his tracks. Too bad that she wasn't.
Yeah, and thinking of the kind of the world that we live in where so much is online, and then with younger people within that age gap of being maybe under the age of 25 in those teenage years. I know we grew up on Facebook, but that's like archaic compared to what kids are on like these days. When you look at, and they were said to be on Discord part of the time, and that seems to come up a lot in these cases, how prevalent are these types of views on some of those other social media platforms that go beyond kind of the mainstream ones like a Facebook or an Instagram, though he was on that?
Well, it's tough for parents to keep up with the latest apps that young people are using. And because, Chris, you and I are of the age, sorry, I know I'm older than you, but we're of the age that we know Facebook and Instagram, but these young people they use the apps that many of us have never heard of. I've never used Discord.
Apps we never heard of. I've never used Discord. Excuse me, sir. What was your previous profession? State's attorney? Really? I mean, Discord is not new. Discord has been around forever. Discord is not some new kid on the block. At this point, y'all, TikTok is getting old. Damn! TikTok is, was the last one that really blew up, but TikTok is not a new thing anymore. Everybody knows what TikTok is now. Everyone. Now he's trying to downplay Discord. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? See how the world turns upside down? Bruh, you don't know nothing about Discord? Really? All these cases of all these mass shootings in Discord, bro. They said they know Facebook. If you know Facebook, you know Discord. Don't tell me, well, Jason, he said he doesn't use it. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Everybody knows what Discord is. It's not about using it. You know exactly what it is. You know what they do on it. Why are we trying to make it seem like it's arcane? It's not.
But I know what's popular amongst young people are apps that use disappearing messages, the Snapchats, Signals, and others where there's no record of it. So
folks, who are the young people using Snapchat? Okay, here's the real problem here, me bucko. It's bad news if you're lying right now, dude. If you're being disingenuous right now, that's bad. If you're telling the truth and you really do believe this, it's even worse. Do not hire him as your defense attorney, folks. This is your formal notice. He better be lying right now. He better be being deceitful and disingenuous. Because if he's telling the truth, that's even worse. If that's really what he thinks.
They can conceal their tracks. It's extra privacy. Plus, there's gaming apps where you have the social component to connect people who are doing games, video games. So this is a whole community that if parents are not vigilant, their kids can succumb to peer pressure online or just be lazy, who just do nothing but sit at home, play video games, and compile weapons and dream of a mass shooting. That's why I'd have a bunch of questions for these parents.
You ain't gonna have no questions at all. It's just like, we don't know what happened here. Now, Carmelo Anthony, they got all the answers. Now, for Carmelo Anthony or any black person, they instantaneously have all the answers. They know everything. Don't need any more information. We know everything. The incident may have just happened. We already know. The culture, the neighborhood, single moms. I'm married. The neighborhood. I live in an exclusive gated community. The culture anyway. However, let's go ahead and have a look here. Let's have a look here from WISN. They have a video here about when he got arrested to give you all the news that is fit
So
for print.
breaking at this hour, Florida deputies arrest a man they say was planning a mass shooting and had ties to the girl responsible for a school shooting in Madison last year.
Records show Damian Allen was in contact with 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow. Investigative reporter James Stratton is joining us in the newsroom. James, police say the two used TikTok to talk about carrying out attacks.
Indiana deputies say the pair conspired to commit mass shootings and were in some sort of online relationship. Rupnow killed 2 people and herself at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison just before Christmas. Police in Florida arrested Damian Allen last night, saying he was planning his own attacks at 7 different locations. This is the stockpile of weapons, ammunition that police...
This is the stockpile of weapons and ammunition that his parents are going to say, gosh, golly gee, we didn't notice anything. People, this is generation after generation prepping for the revolution. In the words of our immortal ancestor, Brother Neely Fuller, you can't have this kind of uniformity of behavior across an entire nation if this isn't something that's being discussed at the dinner table nightly, talked about at the bedside nightly, talked about on the couch daily. You can't have parents and grandparents, and every time you turn around, and by the way, this is the guy who's just getting ready for the damn mass shooting. This is normal. What? The problem is everybody's sitting around looking silly because there's nothing strange about this. They're all like, hey, everybody got a stockpile of weapons, except the Negroes. Everybody does this while they're going to your neighborhoods and saying, give back the guns, gun buyback. We're going to buy back your guns. You Negroes shouldn't have so many guns. Meanwhile, on the other side of town. So this is the norm. This right here, everybody's teaching their kids. The folk from 80 years ago were teaching their kids in the World War II generation, the baby boomer generation, Gen X, everybody. This is the family tradition. Be ready for the revolution, preppers, doomsdayers. You never know when the riot might happen here. Black Lives Matter. Gotta watch out for Black Lives Matter, dude. And this is what they doing. So yeah, they're gonna tell you that they walked in his room and saw this and didn't get a clue what was happening. We didn't have any suspicions whatsoever. You're literally tripping over his guns to get in there. You're literally tripping over his guns. Oh, we don't see no. I mean, he's got cases and every damn thing. Oh, no clues here. Nothing suspicious here, boss.
Police say they confiscated from Allen's home outside of West Palm Beach, Florida. Several long guns, pistols, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and body armor. They say he was pretending to be a police officer and had multiple uniforms. Police say Allen and Rubnow communicated on social media as early as last summer. Allen telling her, "We go down together." Rubnow responded, quote, "Correct," and then, "I love you." Allen responding, "I love you more." Police say the exchange establishes a conspiracy to commit mass shootings between the two. Today, the sheriff saying Allen's arrest saved lives.
There's no doubt in my mind they have stopped a mass shooting that was going to happen. This guy was ready to go, had all the equipment, had the propensity to do it. It's just a matter of what day was going to set him off to go do it.
The police records also reveal new details about Rupnow. Records show she told Allen she planned to shoot a black church. We knew back in December Rupnow had some sort of manifesto. The records reveal what was in that manifesto, that she manipulated her father into purchasing firearms. Records show the manifesto shows a fascination with other attackers, calling one in Turkey a, quote, ultimate saint.
Now, there is a reason that you have to have us here in the new black media. Because you can see that this other YouTube channel here, Law and Crime, they didn't go into this detail about that 15-year-old woman, girl. They didn't go into that detail there. They didn't sit up here and highlight the obvious naked white supremacist links here. And these were just the two that they caught. These are just the two that they had. They didn't sit up here and show that, by the way, this is what they're doing out there. They didn't highlight that, and all they did was talk about a black church. They talked about that. Though it'd be very, very helpful to have a little bit more insight into it than just that. It'd be very, very helpful to have more insight into it. Unfortunately here, I've got a bit more insight into that. Got a bit more insight into that. Now, there's a reason why nobody trusts the media anymore. It is not freedom of information. It is freedom from information is what it is. It's freedom from information. And this is what they're doing. So what I want to do here is, by the way, you heard what they said. You heard what they said. You heard what they talked about. I'm going to go even further. Now, in years past, I would actually put this on the screen. In years past, I would do that. Today, I am not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Because, as you all know, YouTube has recognition. It's got character recognition, picture recognition, facial recognition. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read it. Now, this is the alleged manifesto from Natalie Rupnow, girlfriend of Damian Allen. And tonight's program is about this online network of white supremacist mass shooters. And as they have admitted, these were just the two that they've caught so far, although they tried to let the second one get away. And then they've already confessed that, by the way, the police have already conceded, oh yeah, and there are others. He was talking to others, and they were all talking and planning about where they were going to make the hit. But you notice that just like after she carried out her massacre, they didn't do any arrests. They let him run around. Now they've gone and gotten him. What about the others? So what I'm going to do is go ahead and read this for you all. Yes, I'm going to read it in its entirety because in the Law and Crime video, they didn't really highlight the white supremacist connection. And even from WISN, they don't really highlight the white supremacist connection. They don't really do that. So that's why I have to take it upon myself to do this for you, because the corporate media is not going to do this. By the way, if you're bothered by disturbing things, time to check out now. If you got children, you might not want them to hear this, although you might need them to hear this. Her manifesto said, war against humanity. The creation of a disaster and why it is so unfair. Hatred, something everyone has gotten. In a sense, some people think it's pure nothing, but because of the hate they make, it ends up killing them without knowing it. Which go right ahead, I don't mind, but kinda do at the same time. You are just simply nothing but scum to this world, or to even think about. Nobody should want you or your body in any way. Now remember that phrase. Nobody should want you or your body in any way. Keep that phrase in mind. I hate seeing people on a daily basis. Just being so sensitive gives me one more reason to take off my glasses. The human scum is color and the way people are raised. Let me repeat that sentence again. The human scum is color and the way people are raised. Just reading this far into it, you can probably already predict where this is going. It sounded like she was being vague and innocuous and really general at the beginning. Yeah, it seems that way, but it's going to make its way on around to us. I've grown around people who do not care or give one single care in the world and smoke their lungs out with weed or drink as much as they can, like my own father. I want to come back to that also later about her father. I've grown to hate people and society. It's truly not my fault, though. It never was. But all of you and the world have done to me is pick and tease me. You've pushed me into a corner with no help whatsoever. Humanity is filth, and I don't like filth, nor want to live in it, nor should anyone else, and I know it follows me, and how it has followed me, and will follow everyone because of how the world is runned. She said runned, R-U-N-N-E-D. If she had finished high school, I might have gotten this straightened out. There were so many things I wanted to do as a kid, yet I can admit I was afraid of the other kids, and also even my own parents, but I don't even trust them at that age as well. I didn't and I never will. My parents are scum. There's nothing that will save them to make me think good of them ever again. So you start getting the feeling that there might have been something happening in that house. You start to get the feeling something was happening in that house. She goes on to say, no family to ever trust and to never trust society. There is two people and only two people I will trust. One partially and one I would never doubt. I wonder who the one she would never doubt is. Oh well, we'll move on. I can agree that I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but neither did my parents or anyone around me. I have changed, and I will not go back to that ever again. I'm hardened, and I'm different. The situation and the situation of a lifetime is to get the F out moment and don't come back. I will never go back and nag my way through life. It's not even my fault, though. It's everyone else's. It has to be theirs and not mine. It's pure idiotic from people to cause this, but it's a good thing that this happens. It always is, and there will always be a reason for this and reasons for other shootings, unless it's some Indian guy who wanted to blow up just for the fun of it, which is what those people do. I find it a bit funny. Not really funny to the point I'd laugh my ass off, but still, maybe you get the point here, or maybe you don't, and I think I might be crazy. Maybe you'll see me as a weirdo, a freak, just as some of you do now, but I'm not. I am not like the others. I would never ever want to be like them, with how they think and what they do on a simple day. I hate how the population thinks, grows, and talks, and how they make romance fake. If only some days we could do a public execution. That would be gladly needed. I wouldn't mind throwing some stones at idiots or even watching from the far back when they get hanged. Twitter can prove that for a fact. Or so I think, and I think a lot more than people think I do. Or maybe they don't think what I think because most people can't do what I'm going to do. Death is something some people need to embrace and accept rather than running from it. Once you know, you'll be proven guilty on all charges and wish to be killed in any good way that is not simple and is more painful than anything, or at least I would hope on that behalf. Then she has another section, revolution and population. The revolution should be well. The population should be well, but it's not and never will be. I want to change that, but will I truly? The population of scum has been worked over the years as it did during the wars and fighting over what should be right and wrong. The sick people will dissolve into dust and be forgotten about. You will ruin the human population and turn into whores of filth and beings that shouldn't live. Whores and scum are things I hate the most and will always hate. You have no meaning. You and your parents should be hanged in front of everyone. Niggers, though, worse. She puts that in capital letters, W-O-R-S-E. Niggers, though, comma, worse, in all caps, comma, once you sleep with one, you are one. I don't care who you think you are or what you've done, quote, good for this world of yours. It will never matter because you will always have no thought and no brain to continue with. I hate looking at some of the people in the society and seeing what they are and what they do with their lives. How does one do that? But I know how, out of scum and just pure retardedness. Who was raising her in that house? What were they raising her on, people? I'm glad to be different and not the same as other people. I know how to be formal. I know how to use my words. Even if I get mad at you, there has always been a reason, whether or not I despise you or just because I can. Some of you guys really do deserve the execution punishment. Rather painful or not, you deserve to be dead, but yet doesn't the whole world deserve that? The main target has been anyone with some sort of feeling or being of knowing any action to turn you wrong and left rather than right and the better. Either way, I will always hate humanity and will never be overruled. If someday it's so overruled and I shall never see that day, and knowing how this world is and how everyone is scum of filth, nobody will ever overrule it, and all everyone will be is some worthless thing. Out of all serious talk, though, how everyone forces either religion on others or how some people just disobey the right from wrong and using the right for the worse, what I'm simply doing is not right one single bit. Maybe sure to some people due to its harmful studies according to some people. The hate I get and the hate you get is mutual. You hate me and I will always hate you as well. No matter what you've done to me, but you will always have a little place of hate. I don't care what you think, though nor would I really ever. I'd rather be dead than sit in a room all day, no matter if it's a school, work, or even my own room, even if I like being alone. I will never be like anyone else and ruin my mind. I am part of the real thought and the real revolution. Now, let me explain and clarify a few things for you here. Those were the words of Natalie Rupnow, 15-year-old mass shooter in Madison, Wisconsin, the land of Kyle Rittenhouse, among other things. A year ago, she had settled on this plan at least a year ago, maybe before that. No one has investigated the parents. No one's dug even deeper. The police took a look through her phone, through her social media. They saw that she was talking to Damian Allen, a 21-year-old man. What? They saw that she was talking to Damian Allen. If they had done even a cursory look into him, they would have seen that she was a 15-year-old talking to a 21-year-old man. Shouldn't they have gone to go get him? If he was a 21-year-old man talking to a 15-year-old, shouldn't they have gone to go get him to see if he was grooming her, to see if he had egged her onto this, to see if it was conspiracy? Isn't this basic? And yet, no one did. By their own admission, they didn't look into it at all. I'm holding tonight's program because in this day and age, most people here, I want y'all to understand, going around talking about what you don't know and what you don't want to see and quote, I mind my own business, you better understand, you got folk like this all around you. You have people like this all around you. You better start minding your business, better start monitoring other folk. Your kids are in school with the Natalie Rupp nows, and their parents are arming them, making sure they're ready, giving them access to firearms, maybe doing things to them at their house, and then she's coming to school around your kids. They're coming to these places around your children. And she's talking about the scum is color. And then before she's done, she lets you know that niggers, though, worse. Whores and scum are things I hate the most and will always hate. Niggers, though, worse. There's a reason that the corporate media and the government, we are living in a terrifying age of censorship where they are hiding this information and hiding these things so that you start thinking that there ain't no white supremacy. Y'all niggas just crazy. Ain't no groups of white supremacists. Y'all niggas ain't no white supremacist conspiracy. Y'all acting like they grooming the children. Ain't no white supremacist conspiracy. Get on with all that old conspiracy stuff there. Ain't no conspiracy. And now I'm showing you, by the way, they got a whole Discord, and you think there's just one? People, Discord, 4chan, 8chan. We've come a long way since Stormfront, folks. If you're still talking about Stormfront, you are way behind. We've come a long way since that. A long way. They are talking in private chats. They're talking on encrypted chats. They're talking on encrypted platforms, totally opaque. Sitting here with whole groups and whole social circles. Whole social circles out there. With folk trying to gaslight each other and say, ain't no conspiracy, ain't going on. This is what's going on. I've just uncovered one here. This is far from just one. There's a bunch of them. And they're grooming them early. They're grooming them early. And it is my suspicion, and if they actually investigate Damian Allen this time, they didn't do it previously when his girlfriend massacred a school. No reason to do that. If they actually investigate Damian Allen, I am very confident that they will find that he's been in contact with adults. If they actually look through, now they look through her phone, they looked through his 15-year-old girlfriend's phone, and they found a 21-year-old man, now 22. If they look through the 22-year-old man's phone, I'm pretty sure they're going to find some 40 and 50-year-olds talking to him about the revolution, talking to him about what needs to be done, talking to him about what needs to pop off. If they don't, that's only because you're using something like Signal or Telegram or even WhatsApp, and they're using encrypted messages and disappearing messages. And yeah, when you talk to the adults, yeah, ain't no trail. Ain't no trail when you talk to the adults. Ain't gonna be one for them. And they send him out there, they pump him up, they gas him up, rev him up, and then let him loose. And then they don't want to sit up here and say anything else. And you may be walking along and you and your children are out here and you're trying to be blissfully ignorant. I just keep my head down. I just stay out the way. I don't be messing with nobody. People, you need to talk to your kids. Let me explain something to you right now. Let me go. It's going to be a little bit grimy here, but I got to do this because what I have found is that the most clueless people in society, unfortunately today, the people who don't have the children are the most savvy about raising children, and the people with the kids don't know a damn thing. Folks, you need to go talk to your children. You need to talk to your sons. You need to talk to your daughters. Because you see, when kids are in school, they go look for other kids. And let's be clear, when their hormones start going and they start wanting to get physical and active, they go look for the friendliest ones, the little thrown off ones, the little quiet ones, the self-desecrating ones, self-disfigurement. The ones who go around scarification, putting marks on themselves, cutting themselves. They go looking for that. They go looking for that. When they get older, she got tattoos. She got body markings. When you have somebody who's into self-defacement, she's moody. She's emo. You got to understand, we were all in school and in college. You knew them girls. There were certain white girls who hung out with the black folk. They were into anime and they were all goth or whatever. Always wearing t-shirts and stuff. They weren't really in with the cool white kids. Y'all need to be talking to your kids. You need to be checking their phones. You need to see who they're contacting with, who they are in communication with, who they talking to, who they trying to get booed up with on the sneak. You need to know what's going on. Got a bunch of black folk out here, you letting your sons go walk off in the damn woods with people and they're not coming back. In many cases, chasing their, quote, white girlfriends or white female friends. Here in Shreveport, remember a couple of years ago, young black fella damn near got drowned and killed hanging out with his white female friend. She didn't have as a girlfriend. He went with them, and next thing you know, he almost gets drowned. And he comes back talking about, they didn't try to drown me. And everybody's sitting there, dude, they all put you in the water, left you, and started laughing. Y'all need to stop this nonsense of sitting up here trying to get turned up and you trying to get back out in the streets and you trying to get lit and turned up. You're a damn parent. Be about parenting. You need to go and be talking to your children. Debrief them, in the words of Minister Louis Farrakhan. You need to talk to them. Find out who they're talking to. Find out who they're speaking to. Find out who they're conversing with. Find out who their little boo thing is. You need to be aware of all this. You need to be aware of everything that they're doing and everyone they're doing it with, because these are the kind of conversations going on. 1 minute, they'll be sitting there listening to drill music. I'm talking about the white girls. 1 minute, they'll be sitting there with your sons listening to drill music. The next minute, they're listening to Ben Shapiro or Mark Dice. So that two-faced attitude they got, yeah, that two-faced dichotomy of the psyche. She's extreme hot, extreme cold. You call it bipolar. Extreme hot, extreme cold. Talking out both sides of their faces. They love you and they about to kill you. Hey, you're cool people, but you gotta die. Yeah, I really, really like you, Jamal, but gotta kill you. You're scum, you know. I mean, you're cool people, but you're scum, and there's nothing you can do about being scum, you know, so you're just scum. Gotta take you out, Jamal. Now, I want to deal with something else because, of course, you have the white supremacists and the suspected white supremacists in denial. So what they will attempt to say is, but Jason, Mr. Black Authority, sir, let me talk, sir. They're killing white people. We covered this years ago. Whether it was Breivik in Norway or Timothy McVeigh in America, white supremacy has, when they go radicalized, you cannot be deceived by the fact that, by the way, when they do go left, they have been turned into wild, aimless killing machines. And their mission is to kill, and they usually, you've programmed them and you're trying to indoctrinate them to go after black folk. What ends up happening in a lot of cases is they end up getting whoever is closest. Because you see, you're grabbing people who are loose cannons. You're grabbing people who are imbalanced because those are the ones you can easiest turn. You're not taking into account that, by the way, they were imbalanced by something happening in their homes. So you're trying to weaponize them and radicalize them. You're trying to do that, but they've got unresolved issues. So you see, yes, you've turned them into a white supremacist killing machine, but only if you can set them down among a bunch of black folk first. If you leave them to their own devices, they're going to go after the real source of their pain and their anger and their angst. The white people around them. So you're just hoping they're going to come after us. But in reality, what ends up happening is once they get armed, when they do finally go off, most of them end up going after the real source of their pain and their anger. And that's what you are not counting on. This is the evil and the illness of a system of white supremacy. I must remind you all of the words of our immortal ancestor, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who said so famously on the Phil Donahue show that she said, we need to talk to white people. She said, America needs to talk to white people about their fears. She said that this is a mental health crisis among the white population of America and their fear of genetic annihilation. And we as mental health professionals, the mental health profession needs to sit down with white society and have a discussion with them about their fear and their anxiety. Because left to their own devices, they're weaponizing their children, weaponizing their homes, setting off bombs all over the place because in reality, they are scared, they are anxious, they're terrified, they're fragile, and they're sitting among a bunch of other imbalanced, scared, irrational, terrified, fragile individuals. And now it's become a group epidemic. We need to have a conversation with white society about their anxiety. Stop pretending that you don't have a white supremacist problem. Yes, you do. And it's killing the kids. The population replenishment numbers have gone even and going down into negative territory now. Don't you see there is a problem? And maybe 30, 40 years ago, you could pretend it wasn't this serious. Yet there's no denying it now. You have sat up here and programmed your homes into being terror factories. And sat up here and told your children, remember the niggers are the problem. Public enemy number one. And then you're going off and doing things to the kids. Some of you are touching them. Some of you are beating them. Some of you ain't saying nothing to them. And that last one is really important. Many of you believe that because you've rigged a socioeconomic system to keep yourselves in the upper middle class and to dominate and oppress the rest of us here, that everything else will work out all right. And you've just abandoned your responsibility to parent altogether. As long as the children understand the niggers are the problem, well, I finished my job as a parent. What you don't understand is that you've got whole wide swaths of them. They're on drugs. They're drinking. They're using painkillers, illicit substances. And they're getting together in groups online trying to salve each other's pain. And all they're really doing is feeding the fires. They're trying to fill a hole where a parent is supposed to be. Truth be told, they're trying to fill a hole where a just society is supposed to be, because the chief responsibility of a just society is to be concerned for its children. That is the number one responsibility of a just society, is to see to your children. And that's not happening. You've got your daughters out here, your sons out here writing manifestos. That's what you've taught them. That's what you've given them. And then you're hoping that they come for us, and then they just self-destruct around the first folk they see, because that's who their beef is really with. And that was the variable you weren't counting on. That was the variable you were not counting on. There's networks of them out there now. By the way, one more thing. From time to time, you will see a news story about a young white person. You see a news story about a young white person. In the chat room, ARE Radio needs to give me a call up on Zoom. Let me go ahead and get that up and going for you here. Very glad you wanted to ask that. I'll be glad to take a look at that for you. When you see a young white person and you hear that they killed their parents, the media gives that part of the story and then immediately moves on to discuss cornflakes or stock market futures. Folks need to be paying more attention to these acts of matricide and patricide. They need to be paying a lot more attention to that and stop pretending like, oh, well, it's another day in America. You need to be looking through their phones. You're treating it like it's just a murder. They need to be looking through their phones to see what was the motive, what's happening here, so that we can properly diagnose this society. Because I submit to you all that Natalie Rupnow was expressing absolute venom and hatred for her parents, particularly her father. And yet she went and shot up a school. She didn't shoot the parents, she shot up a school. But she was just as likely to do that. She was just as likely to do that, and that's why it is incumbent on all of us. It's incumbent on all of us. We need to monitor these stories and watch those things, dig beneath the surface, because I'm telling you all that there's a lot of these instances about you hear about they killed their parents. Yeah, they were supposed to be the next mass shooter, but it didn't go that way. Somebody was hoping they would be the next mass shooter, but it didn't pop off that way. It went a different way. And other folk are not being honest and forthcoming about what actually occurred. So they're bringing their sons and they're bringing their daughters. You got a 15-year-old girl talking to a 21-year-old man. What? Folks, you think you can afford to be quiet about this? You think you can afford to be incognito and out to lunch about what your kids are getting into and what they're seeing and what they're doing? Just understand, she's a 15-year-old girl talking to a 21-year-old man. Discussing the mass shooting that's about to jump off. There's a price you pay for willful ignorance. There is a price that you pay for being deliberately, willfully ignorant. The price is too high. The price is too high, people. The price is too high for being willfully ignorant, deliberately ignorant. The price is too high. You can't afford to be that. The media and the government and the clergy, everyone is united in their goal of keeping you ignorant. That's why you have to do your own work, starting with talking to your children. Find out who they're talking to. Take a look at them. If you see someone and she looks wayward and listless, she looks like it's like, wow, kind of rough over there. Yeah, you can't afford to ignore that. You need to be asking questions. Who is this? Yeah, who's, hey son, who's this little girl you talking to here? Oh, she one of my classmates, isn't it? Yeah, what about her? What about her? That's what you need to do. That's what you need to be doing. Because as I pointed out earlier, these aren't the only ones. There's a whole network of them out there. Sitting on Discord, some of them with your children. Remember, your kids get on Xbox. We've been talking about this for a decade now. They get on Xbox, they get on PlayStation. They're sitting there with the white kids while they're playing Call of Duty. The white kids are sitting there shooting something up. They're playing Call of Duty with the white kids, sitting there screaming, nigger, 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 all night. Many of you, your sons and daughters are sitting on these console games, Xbox Live, and the rest of them, talking to these white kids. They're screaming nigga all night on these games while they're playing first-person shooter games with your kids. Your kids are becoming desensitized to it. Oh, they're just trolling. You need to recognize that's not all trolling. Your kids are encountering this on a daily basis, and you, of all people, need to be on top of it. Your children are new to this planet. You supposed to be the seasoned person, been around the block. You supposed to be on top of this for the life experience that they don't have. I'm sad to say that many people have simply abdicated their responsibilities as parents. They sitting up here trying to get back to the damn club they damn selves. As long as the children can feed and clothe themselves, I did my job. And this is what's sitting around the corner and sitting next to them in the next chair and the next desk. In a society that is telling us there is no problem. Everything's fine. And then you stockpile the evidence like they stockpile weapons. And they keep telling you everything's fine. Everything is not fine. I've got 12,000 pieces of evidence that everything is not okay. You want evidence? I got over 12,000 of them. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the link to the Zoom is now open and available for those of you who wish to discuss tonight's topic here. I'll go ahead and open up the Zoom for you here. I know it's rather somber. I was going to cover this last night, but I really decided to just need its own program to deal with this specifically because coming out of April, your ears go up. I don't want you all to get lulled into a false sense of security. They are still out there. They are still plotting. They're still planning. They just caught just these two. What about all the others? What about all the others, folk? What about all the others that are out there? We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break here before we get to Zoom. But before we do that, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who's contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Black Views FBA. He said the laptop was operational, the police package. The operative was operational, as a matter of fact, there. To everyone here on Super Chat, thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll go ahead and open up the Zoom and more. This is the Black Channel.
When you visit MrBeTheTeacher.com, you can get a copy of his award-winning book, Guidelines for the Successful Student. While you're there, grab one of his newest tunes along with fun and educational lyric videos.
Never give up, don't worry, never give up, study. In order to... Times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times swap names, he, she, they, and we. Simplify the tiny divides as the following guide. Money multiplies and shares on what they buy.
You can also acquire his tutoring services via varsitytutors.com or tutor.com. If you wish to speak to Steve Burgess directly, you can do so through MrB,
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra snakes and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give the honey badger reparations? Can the evil alliance of cobras and hyenas be stopped? The best new price for the hard and soft cover is at www.thehoneyBadgerandthemongoose.com. You can also find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. The link for the Zoom is open here tonight. People, please remember the rules on Zoom. Nobody is going to see you except for the host, but make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on just so we don't have any trolling issues. The internet will not see you. They will only hear you. Only the host will see you. That's me. Make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on just so we don't have any trolling issues. That's all. Nobody else will see you except for the host. And we'll go ahead and make sure we take your calls here. Now, ARE Radio is on Zoom. So let's go ahead and see if we can get ARE Radio up here. ARE, make sure you have your camera and microphone turned on for us. We'll give you about 5 seconds to go ahead and see about that. Otherwise, we got to move on. So ARE Radio, make sure you have that taken care of for us here. ARE Radio is on there. I'm not really sure what happened to him. He's sitting there, but he is not paying attention. I'll give you 3 more seconds, and then we're going to have to move on here because folks don't want to hear me having to ask for you. So people, if you're going to call in, I know some of y'all want to run around the house when you do that, but no, if you call up, you need to be here. So, all right, ARE Radio has decided not to say anything, so we'll just leave ARE Radio silent. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get to Richard here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get to Richard here on Zoom. I got Richard, waiting for Richard to make sure he has everything turned on for us. All right, Richard, and what's on your mind?
I was just reminded of Dr. King's remark later in his career when he talked about, I feel that I may have integrated my people into a burning house. It's like he's integrated us into a crazy house. And I'm going to be very brief here. I just think that a lot of times we hear, even in the FBA movement, we're talking about, oh, it's just great. America's just the greatest place. And this is the greatest country. And we build it up and everything. And it's just great. No, it's tore up, and we can start to delineate, get together, and build our own communities up to a level. I was looking at a documentary on Papua New Guinea, and there are all these melanated, these are black people. They look like black people. You saw them. They say a Melanesian. And every culture, though people say they were primitive, they had their own source of food. They had their own land. They had things, and they had a way to run their society. One lady said the only thing that she needed money for was her school fees. And they sold things. What was interesting, the way they raised their children, the children were raised in families in their homes, but when the young men got to be 18, they had what is called the men's house. And they were trained by all the older men how to take care of families and how to do a society. What it was, a healthy society. And a lot of people want to say, well, primitive, we don't want to live like that. But they didn't have any problem. Their children were playing all over the community, and nobody was worried about things like that. So a lot of this technology and things we think are so great is just a burning and a sick house. That's my comment.
Well, definitely vigilance is key. There are a lot of things that happen in the society that we would be very well advised to separate from. The society, the problem with capitalism, there are several problems, but one in particular is that something can become popular and profitable, but everything that is profitable is not constructive. There are a lot of things that are destructive and are simultaneously highly profitable. A lot of things that are destructive, destroy families, destroy individuals, and you can make a lot of money doing it. Pass it down for generations.
The love of money is the root of all evil. And money is the only object. We don't have the people motive here.
Money should not be your drive or motivation. Money should just be a side effect of you fulfilling whatever your drive and motivation is. If you're fixated on money, then it does us no good. It does a society no good to have a bunch of degenerate millionaires and billionaires. That doesn't do you any good. If the worst examples of humanity are also the richest, well, that's not a plus. That's not a positive. It's like, oh, they make a bunch of money. Yeah, but they're degenerates. So that doesn't sanitize them.
Sorry. They want to criticize China, but one thing that China does is they rein in their oligarchs. They don't let them just run roughshod over the people, and they've been able to raise the standard of billions of people out of poverty. So that's it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, it doesn't do you any good to have a bunch of degenerates talking about they make bank. Yes, you want to have prosperous people, but they need to be prosperous, honorable people. When you have a society where the most profitable, the most enriched people are also the most depraved, you are in trouble. You're in hideous trouble. If your richest are also your most depraved, you got problems. And that happens in this society. Not somebody else's, this one. All right, we got Superpower Media here on Zoom. Superpower, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Jason? Yeah, man, just the disease that we keep running into called white supremacy is that they don't want to fix it themselves. When we was Black Panthers back in the day, when we had our movement going, they made up something called COINTELPRO to target us as Black people, and they won't turn around and make up a program for them because these kids are always online conjuring up evil, coming after with the school shooting situations, and they online every day. So if they would only turn the light on themselves, they'll figure out, oh shoot, we have a real problem on our hand. But they know that they don't want to fix white supremacists because they're white supremacists themselves. And for like this kid to have that much ammo, I buy bullets myself, and man, that's a lot of money. I mean, I believe he's probably getting that ammo from like gun shows. You can go to gun shows and buy. Matter of fact, you can buy guns as a felon at gun shows. That's what a lot of people don't know. That's where the white boys go get their guns. The ones that have felons. And I mean, in the South, they have gun shows every weekend.
Well, here's the thing. In the system of white supremacy, violence is the cost of doing business. There's a reason why you keep seeing them with the "Don't Tread on Me" flag and, quoting that Thomas Jefferson, the tree of liberty must be watered with the blood of saints the blood of patriots and martyrs. And they keep reiterating that death and violence are simply a requirement of living in their version of a society. That, hey, that goes with being here. That is not a bug, it's a feature. And so that's the reason why any attempt to separate that is not going to work. It's not going to work. You have not seen the society skewing towards, lessening it. You've seen them skewing more towards, a freewheeling armed madhouse. That's what you're seeing because it requires it. Why? Because take a look at the goofs that they have to put in charge. The George Zimmermans, the Kyle Rittenhouses. Can those kind of people run anything without terrorism? Tell me who's going to freely, willfully follow them anywhere? So folk like that, you got to make sure they're armed. They've got to be armed. They got to be armed more than anybody else because they're very easily defeated, very easily stopped. So you better arm them to the teeth. You better arm them to the hair follicle. And you better not let it go because if this comes down to brains or resourcefulness or constructivity, he's going to be the first one thrown overboard. First one. He ain't going to be last. He's going to be first. So that's the reason why, brother, we can speak truth to this. We can talk about this honestly, but I don't want you to be deceived about what time they're on.
Right.
I don't want you to be deceived about that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we can change the world. I'm working on us changing ourselves. And that change is to be brutally honest about where we at, how they moving, what's going on. Don't be deceived. Damn it, it's an epidemic. Whole networks out there. You go on Xbox Live and you trip over a teenage white supremacist on every other game, every other round of the game. Here we go. You go on all your social media. They're all over Twitter. They're all over Facebook. They're flooded YouTube. They run YouTube. And we don't even have to go to 4chan or 8chan. You can go to Megyn Kelly and Tim Pool. You can go no further. So we don't even have to get off into just the text sites, Reddit and all that. We don't even do that. Right here on YouTube. They're all over the damn place. So your kids need to be aware of this because that's what they're walking next to. Your young adults need to be aware. All of us need to be very aware this is not an accident. This is the norm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even with the girl, you can look in her eyes and tell that she's a demon, man. Just insane in the head. And I'm the type of person, I don't believe in abortions, but I do believe in a good pull-out game. Somebody should have pulled out, man.
Well, look here, definitely, I take a slightly different tack on it. In that, she got issues, and imagine sitting there screaming, "Hey, there's a problem!" And the folk who are there, I don't know if they're methed out. I don't know what her home situation actually is, but they just left her twisting in the damn wind. There's no way in the world that they were not aware that their daughter was in distress like this. She was in distress and they didn't give a damn. Brother, you know how that ends. If the children if kids think nobody give a damn about them, if the world don't care about me, damn it, I don't care about the world. So let's get it cracking. And the parents is just like Ethan Crumley or whatever. They hurt the kids. They mess up the kids. They screw up the kids. When the kids go off, they go kill everybody except the parents. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
And the parents say, "Ooh, we raised them right. We ain't do nothing wrong." And then you go take a look at the kid's phone. I'll be damned. Minnie Manson over here. So in her case, I'm not going to say I feel sorry for her because I don't in that regard. Although I do think it's a shame. I think it's a shame. I think it's a pity. I think it is awful. Who knows what could have happened if she had had some parents who gave a damn and a society that would stop giving them a pass.
Yeah, that's the problem.
She was sitting there on her phone for at least 6 months talking to a 21-year-old man because she couldn't talk to her parents. Now, maybe she was just a typical moody teen. I don't know. But then she's telling y'all, by the way, I got some guns from my dad. If you got a 15-year-old and dad is just handing over the firearms with no supervision, that tells me what kind of house she raised in. Dude, you just giving your 15-year-old 2 guns? Not 1, brother, 2. 2?
With the ammo.
That tells you who and what was raising her. She could do anything because the parents don't care. And you know, those are the deadliest words for any educator to hear a kid say. The most dangerous words an educator can hear a kid say is, my parents don't care what I do. They don't care what I do.
All say it. They say it. And white folks say it, man. And white
you
kids,
know,
man.
When you hear that come from a child's mouth, you know that drugs are going to follow, substance abuse is going to follow, sexual activity is going to follow, pregnancy is going to follow, criminal behavior is going to follow. We know this for a fact. Number one indicator that this child is going to get into trouble, and quickly, if they sit there and tell you, my parents don't care what I do, and they mean it. They're not just saying it. Because a lot of kids may say that, oh, this one over here, she means it. Oh, she means it. She can do whatever. Whatever. And anybody saying nothing.
And she couldn't keep us out of her mind. You know, when she said, when you sleep with black people, you can never come back. They always thinking us, you know, that like the black penis is is always on their mind. You know, like Francis Cress Welsing spoke of. We can't even. We can go to the darkest part of the earth, and they'll still be thinking about us. They can't keep us off their minds, and that's sick.
But what are they telling you though? There with that. What are they showing you and illustrating to you with that? She's showing you that the person she has the most vitriol for are her parents, and specifically apparently her father. And then out of nowhere, here come black folk in the situation, people who are not even around her. So what that tells you is that the actual physical issue that is there is in the house. But somebody else has conditioned her in an attempt to get her attention off of what they're doing to her. So your real enemy is them Negroes over there. Meanwhile, don't mind what I'm over here doing to you. Exactly. I'm not the real problem. They're the real problem. Brother, they try that with us all the damn time, remember? They do that with us all the damn time. They're sitting up here, locking you out, locking up the credit, redlining you, brutalizing you and everything else, and then telling you the problem is you're not trying hard enough. The problem is you're lazy. The problem is your parents. The problem is your neighborhood. The problem is your culture. Don't mind what I'm over here doing to you. Don't worry about that. So when you all think about it for a few moments, that's actually very consistent. It's consistent across the board. And when they're doing it in their homes, they're rolling the dice that she's going to go off on us and not them. And it'll be the situation when they go off on somebody else. And I will tell them what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said decades ago. Hey, if you really want to help yourselves here, you all need to stop bull jiving yourselves and have an honest conversation about what is happening in white homes. Nobody wants to talk about that because you're trying to convince yourselves that when you say American exceptionalism, America first, America's great, what you're trying to say is being white is great. And what I'm saying is, well, I've always said there's nothing wrong with being white. There's everything wrong with being a white supremacist, because the white supremacist raises children like this. And while get the children hating black folk, while dad is doing we don't know what. And now that's the hoodwinking we're going to do with the kids. So daughter, just remember, keep them Negroes' hands off of you. Okay, but who else is, okay, but sir, who else's hands are on her?
Right.
I'll let you have the last word.
I just want to say, we need to keep our heads on a swivel. Black people, hey, watch your back. Jason, keep your foot on their necks, man. White supremacy, be one, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving this call tonight. Yeah, they tell their kids, watch out for them niggers over there. And meanwhile, the folk who are actually getting a hold of them are sitting right there under the roof with them. All right, let me go ahead and get Zoom user over here. Okay, brother, what's your name?
Can you hear me, Jason?
Yes, speak. What's your name?
Okay, I'm in my car. This is Rock Love from Chicago, Jason.
All right, Rock Love, what's on your mind?
Okay, yeah, you can hear me good, yes?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, Jason, excellent broadcast. The way you articulated everything. I didn't think that this was the direction you were going to go tonight, but I'm glad you did. biggest takeaway from what you said so far. It's a couple of great eggs you gave us and gems, but the video game analogy where these kids are playing video games, they're playing they're playing all these military games, and they're conditioned, and yes, they're online saying the N-word all over the place. That's very important. I was in a space the other day on X, and these guys, they come up with these talking points about how the Black community is so violent, and Brother Tariq said, well, what's up with all these school shootings? That was just a couple of days ago. And the way you're breaking this down tonight, it's just excellent. And the other thing I wanted to say, and you can drop me down after this, is I hope that there's 5,000 people listening. You have a great amount of people from the white community. I wanted you to just touch on this, the fact that you care. I could hear it in your voice that you care, especially about children. And that's white, Black, or otherwise, if I'm conjecturing correct. And so I heard it in your voice, and I hear it all the time, that you really care about fixing the situation. So if you could expound on that, I would appreciate it. And excellent broadcast, Jason.
Well, now that is justice. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. That is justice. When you are a just people, you don't get up in the mornings and look to victimize other people's children. See, that's the difference between us and a white supremacist society. Black empowerment is just and a benefit to everyone. Everyone benefits from Black empowerment because Black empowerment is founded on justice. It's not founded on injustice. It doesn't matter how much you give us in that regard. You're not going to end up with a system of injustice. No one's going to target your children. White supremacy is a system of injustice, which is why they are afraid of Black empowerment, because empowering white supremacy created a system of injustice, and in their minds, anything that is empowered will become unjust and will target them, because that's what they would do if they had that kind of power. But in the words of Dr. John Henry Clark, we have no desire to do that. We want to get their damn boots off our necks. We want to do that. And there's not a one of us thinking a damn about invading Europe, Ireland, Scotland. If we had a Black Boeing company, there's not a one of us trying to figure out, now, how do we drop these bombs over there on France? When we going to invade Spain? Scandinavia, I think we can take them down in a few weeks. There's not a one of us trying to figure out how that's going to pop off. Not a single one. There's not a single online conversation about, how can we take down this government over there in Yugoslavia, in former Yugoslavia? Now, they spend all their time talking about how can we take down a government in Africa? How can we take down one in South America? How can we take down these folk over here on the south side of town? And that's why they are afraid that if we're empowered, that we would have the same conversations. They can't imagine or conceive that a people could actually be looking out for justice. They're like, how can you be empowered in a system that doesn't find somebody to victimize? How do you figure that's going to work? There's a reason why that white woman made that video telling her children that she told her kids that if you're lost at the mall, find the first Black man that you can. Because they're not looking to hurt you. They're not looking to do something. The first thing they will do genetically, intrinsically, is look for justice. Who is in need? Who needs help? That's in the DNA. Not looking to victimize somebody's children. You see, if I were to respond in that manner and say that their children are not children, well, now you've become the unjust. You have allowed the unjust to turn you into them. We can defend ourselves. We can defend our children. We can defend our rights to life and liberty and everything else without becoming like them. We can do all of that because all of that is just. We do not have to become demons or monsters in the process. That's not necessary. It's not necessary. Furthermore, it's not even wanted. You don't want to allow that to seep in. That doesn't mean that you are soft or soft in the head. That doesn't mean that you're negligent. But it does mean that you remember, I don't have to be like them. I do not have to be like them. I can defend my home. I can defend my children. I can defend my neighborhood. I can defend justice. I can treat everybody in a just manner without saying, by the way, I got to remember how to victimize you. I don't have to reserve any bandwidth for victimizing somebody. I don't have to reserve a single brain cell for scheming on how I'm going to victimize somebody's children. That would be a waste of effort. And guess what, y'all? Here's the biggest indicator of all. It's a damn waste of effort for them. What? What did you get from murdering a child named Emmett Till? Did murdering Emmett Till enhance the system of white supremacy? Or did murdering Emmett Till galvanize black people and that became the biggest blow against white supremacy since the end of chattel slavery? Victimizing a child, did that empower you or did that devastate you? How'd that turn out when you did that? How about after Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice? Did that empower you or was that a severe kick to the gut for you after that? Culminating in the George Floyd uprising. How'd that turn out for you, by the way? Being a people who thought it defended victimizing children. Did that end up empowering you or did that end up devastating you? Did that weaken the people around you or did that galvanize them? And did it lead your children to defend what you were doing better or did it lead them to be, while you're worried about victimizing our kids, did you have a chance to focus on your own? Figure out what's going on over there? Just a thought. Let me go ahead and get over here on Zoom. We got Linwood on Zoom. Linwood, what's on your mind?
Brother, thank you for taking my Zoom call. I harper back at what you said, and I was on some talk shows today, and I was really thinking that there are non-white people, particularly black people, non-white people overall, but definitely black men who, as Pam of the Trojan Horse book called The Dark Nation, it's a book that I read, they are white identified black people. And they identify with their oppressor. They see the world through the white people or white supremacist eye lens.
Absolutely. Remember how many mass shooters have we seen who said that Candace Owens, they love watching Candace Owens?
What? One.
No, it's been more than one. It's been more than one.
Well, I would say as far as a black person, one.
Well, I'm talking about white. I'm talking about the white ones. We've seen
the white supremacists.
We've seen several mass shooters who had that idea that's all they needed.
The non-white people give the okay for the white supremacists to say, okay, you can harm them because they're animals anyway. They're inhumane anyway. So I call them more dangerous than anything. And I said, if the Candace Owens of the world, not to get radical here, if they were to die today or tomorrow, we should be celebrating, not crying. Because if these people are on the planet, they will get us all murdered by the white supremacists because they're co-signing it. And they're thinking this is okay. They're trying to build a new black race. No, to be a member of a race is to practice racism. So they really want to be the racist. They are seething to become a part of the white movement. And the white people see this and they know that, okay, we can just use these people, just use them. but we should not. You're right. I mean, I learned this from Senator in Nebraska called Ernie Chambers. He said, I don't try to act like them. I don't try to talk like them. I don't try to be like them. I try to do everything opposite of white people because white people do not practice humanity. And this kid that got called the N-word up there in Minnesota, I think it is, I said, guys, what do you expect? You're in a system of white supremacy. White people wake up in the morning, as Neely Fuller Jr. said, as you said it to me at one point, white people have their daily briefings at the dinner table. And so we should be having our daily meetings at our dinner table and how to neutralize the white supremacists or how to counter their ability from being able to harm Black people. But to normal people overall, but definitely Black people. If the white people and if the non-white people and the white people don't get down, then they should lay down. Don't expect any empathy or sympathy from us. If you are harmed by that white nation that you are co-signing.
If you make it your priority to listen to Tim Pool and Megyn Kelly and figure don't worry, everything else will be all right, and if you think that you can ignore a ravenous creature that you're teaching to attack everything,
now the new coon in chief Tim Black.
If you think that they're just gonna chew your foot off and leave the rest of you alone, that's not the way it works. And they chew your foot off. Now they got a taste for feet and you, and now they just keep on chewing. Thank you very much for giving us a call now. We appreciate that. Let me go ahead and see if I can get T. Lawrence up here. Let me see if I can get T. Lawrence up here on Zoom. T. Lawrence, hope you didn't step away from Zoom here. We can't wait around all night for you. So T. Lawrence, make sure that you are watching and keeping an eye on what you're doing here, T. Lawrence. Okay, T. Lawrence, not really sure where you're at or what you're doing. Let me go ahead and see if we can get anybody else up here. Okay, we're going to see. Okay, T. Lawrence, you are late, sir. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Jason?
All
I was calling because I see your topic, and I wanted to know if you were aware of the case in Cincinnati, my hometown, Rodney Hinton Jr. And so, just a quick story. Rodney Hinton Jr.'s son was killed by Cincinnati police on Thursday. He was alleged to have a gun pointing at police officers, although there was no video evidence supporting a pointing of a gun at police officers, and he was shot down by the police. So the next day...
Okay, brother, let me find out here. Is this related to tonight's topic, sir?
Yes, it is. You're talking about the police officers performing brutality, right?
Okay, no, that's not actually what we're talking about there, sir. That's not really what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, I've been watching the show. That was my understanding. Maybe help me out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. You're gonna have to catch back up on there. He's watching this show, y'all. He's been watching the show. All right. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Chase up here on Zoom. Chase, where are you at here, Chase? Had Chase up here the first time. We'll see if we can get Chase back up here now. Chase, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me here. I can give you 5 seconds to go ahead and do that, and then we have to move on down the road. So, Chase, let's go ahead and get that taken care of. I can give you 3 more seconds here, Chase, and then we're going to have to move along. Can't wait here all night for it. So, Chase, I can give you 1 more second here, and then we have to move on, Chase. All right, y'all, Chase is unsure which button he needs to press there, so let me go ahead and help him out. Brothers and sisters, they're out there. It's an online network of them. They are young. They're in high school. They're in middle school. They have Discords. They have WhatsApp. They have Telegram. They have Signal. They have Telegram. They got everything else out there. Yes, it's a real thing. So, folks, please be aware of what's going on. Be aware what is happening. There's a network of them out there, and the police ain't doing a damn thing. I showed you bona fide, incontrovertible evidence here tonight. The police are just sitting back and watching and let it be what it's going to be. Let it be what it's going to be. In their desperate hope that they get us. They let this fella run around for a year now. He was talking to a 15-year-old girl. Nobody investigating him. Then he's got all this police equipment. Nobody's saying nothing. How many coincidences can you dismiss before you have to start to question your own sanity? Come on, people. How many, quote, coincidences do you have to dismiss before we start asking you, okay, are you sure you sane? Because you're sure dismissing a lot. It does matter. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Before we do, I want to thank everyone who contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much here. Chadwick, Mr. Fremont, Keenan, Melvinia, Glennis, and everyone else. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified Race War, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank everyone for tuning in live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.